Good afternoon. My name is Scott Forehand. I'm an agency director here at Symmetry Financial Group. And today we're here to talk about debt-free life. And I'm going to have a couple of illustrations to show you guys and show you how debt-free life works and the inner workings and mechanics of debt-free life. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And here we go. So what is debt-free life? Debt-free life is a proprietary program that was put out, created and developed, and it's been made available through Symmetry Financial Group. It's a Symmetry proprietary product, and it's actually a play on words. So the idea is that all of us want to become debt-free, and this program specifically uses a life insurance vehicle as the means for us to get debt-free. And this is Symmetry's focus for the next 2 years or 3 years, actually, which is to eliminate $1 trillion of consumer debt. So moving on. So with debt-free life, we typically ask two main questions. Are you sure that you're going to have a great retirement? Which I don't know anybody who can say that. And if we could show you a way to get out of debt in 7 years or less, including your mortgage, without you spending any more money than you're spending right now, would you be interested in listening? And I like to see 9 years or less is what the statement says. For those of us, when you start writing a lot of these programs and implementing a lot, you realize that 9 years or less statement's really, it's accurate, but the reality is what's more accurate is when we say 15 to 27 years early. So even if the only debt you have is a mortgage and it's a 30-year mortgage, if that's the only thing you have, this program will still work. And it'll still create an environment or a situation where you're going to pay that mortgage off in about half the time. Moving on. So if you're like most people, this is me included, this is how you spend your money. This is a typical American household. About 40% of the money that we make is spent on taxes. 34% of the money we make is spent on interest on debt. 23% of the money we make, that's what we live on. That's what we put food on the table with, pay the power bill, gas bill, light bill, car payment, mortgage, and 3% is what we save. And if the problem with this scenario is that 3% is not nearly enough money to retire on. And if you're in a situation where you're going to be stuck, depending on the federal government and Social Security, I think most of us are probably rethinking that strategy because it's probably not a good one to rely on moving forward. So most Americans, this is the average American, we make about $2 million in our lifetime. It's a lot of money. And if you spend it correctly, or in this case, save it correctly, you're going to have plenty of money for the rest of your life. The problem is, as we discussed on the previous slide, only 3% is the average American saving. That's not enough. Certainly, this isn't the American dream. So if you get to that point and you're making $100,000, and you've saved 3% of your money, $3,000. How long is that? Even if you've done it for 30 or 40 years, how much retirement is that going to get you? And that's $60,000. That's what the average American has at retirement, and it's not enough money. So we can change the paradigm. We can change the discussion. And that's what debt-free life is. Most of the time when people have a debt or have debt and they feel overwhelmed by it, they get that sense, that impending doom sense. Eventually they pick up the phone, go online, do some research. They start researching debt consolidation, or they start researching debt negotiation, and they find those companies who will advertise that they can get you out of debt quickly. And a lot of times their methodology for getting you out of debt is negotiating with the debtor, with your creditor. And they'll do things like, look, stop making your payment. It's going to destroy your credit rating, but stop making your payments, because we have to make it painful for your creditor before they'll negotiate with us. That is not what this is. That is not what we do. We're not going to negotiate your debt. We're not going to consolidate your debt. We're not going to make you take out another loan, like a home equity line of credit. We're not going to do that. You're going to pay your debt. You're going to pay it all. We're just going to pay it in a smarter way than you've ever thought of possible before. So of those 6 items, there are 6 bullets that you see. None of those, with the exception of a debt snowball, are going to work with regularity. Every one of them is going to have an Achilles heel. Every one of them is going to fail at some point. So that's not what we do. Here's our better way. We're going to move you from the left side of the screen, the typical average American household, to the right side of the screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to increase the amount of money you've got for your lifestyle. What we know is if we do a financial program like this and it's causing you to spend more money, meaning it's reducing your cash flow, you're not going to stick with it. So there has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And the light is we're going to get you to a situation where you're going to spend that 23 to 30% increase, that 10% increase, that 10% more of your money that you have every month is going to be available for living, for lifestyle. So it's going to significantly increase your cash flow. It's going to decrease the amount of taxes you pay over time because of the nature of the way that we're storing money, growing money, saving money, and finally spending money. We're going to eliminate your interest significantly. And all that, when you do all the math and you combine everything, there's still only 100% of your income that has to be split. So when we're saving the money from your taxes and saving the money from your interest, and we get to that point where we have something to do, we can do something with the money. Where we're spending it is increasing the money you're spending on lifestyle. And more importantly, we're giving you a 500% increase in the amount of money you're saving for retirement. Okay, moving on. How do we do it? First and foremost, we're going to reduce interest. So if you've got a mortgage and you're paying a mortgage for 30 years and your mortgage principal is $200,000, how much are you going to pay, even with today's really low interest rates? How much are you going to pay over time? And it's probably $100,000 to $120,000 more than the principal. So you're going to pay $320,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to target interest rates, and we're going to implement a DFL program where you're going to be paying less interest because we're going to pay your debts off quicker than you ever thought possible. We're going to eliminate all your debt 9 years or less. We're going to reduce your taxes. That's huge. We're going to improve your cash flow. Again, this is what we were talking about just a minute ago. If it was causing you to spend more money every month, you wouldn't do it and you wouldn't stay with it. And finally, we're going to allow you to retire with a tax-favored income. From my perspective, there is no better tax-favored income than a tax-exempt income. And we're going to, in all cases, we're going to take advantage of IRS tax code 7702A to be able to take money from our program. And in some cases, especially for business debt-free life programs, we're also going to take advantage of tax code 162, which is going to make our program, not only is it going to be tax exempt, it's going to be a tax deduction. All right, moving on. This concept of what we're doing debt-free life, it's not new. It's been around for 100 plus years. What has happened in the past, previously, you had to be very wealthy to start one of these programs. And then in the 1960s and 1970s, programs became available using different strategies where you didn't necessarily need to be wealthy, but they used different things. Like they would use a home equity line of credit, or they would use a personal loan, or they would use other vehicles to be your private bank. All of those programs have had an Achilles heel. And each one had, in some cases, had multiple Achilles heels. What we looked at and what we analyzed is we found out that there's a common thread. Common thread is for almost all of them, the main problem was they did not consider an emergency. They did not consider if you died too early. They did not consider if you had something happen to you where you could become unable to earn a living, which means that at that point, with your income significantly reduced, you couldn't execute the program. So that's what we did with our system is we built in a 20% emergency fund. It's there, it's hidden, you can't see it. We don't want you to see it. If you need it in an emergency, a true emergency, you can get to it. Not I need to fly to Mexico because it's cold where I'm at emergency, a true emergency, okay? So when we compare the growth of this program to other types of retirement programs, our program is tax-free. The debt-free life program is a tax-free program. IRAs, TSPs, KIOs, SEPs, all those are tax deferred programs. And a tax program would be putting it in a savings account where you're paying tax on it up front one time, and then you're growing very slowly. So what we decided to do is, what happens if you take the same $10,000 investment, put it into a DFL, put it into a tax deferred IRA with standard growth interest rates, and put it into a traditional savings account. And those numbers, it's just math. Those numbers is what it comes to. 28-year investment, $10,000 initial investment, 7% average interest rate for the market, 25% tax rate. That is assuming you're staying at a 25% tax rate. One thing I want to draw everybody's attention to is, when you're looking at where the country is right now, the debt load that we have right now and the rate that it's growing, the fact is by 2030, they're going to have to do something with the tax code to rescue Social Security. They cannot let Social Security fail. And the only thing they're going to be able to do is either cut programs or increase tax. And the latter is probably where they're going to go. So 25% tax rate is a fairly low tax bracket for someone that's been making a good amount of money. I would venture a guess that it's not going to be 25% when most of us are ready to take retirement. So the good news is, our system, we don't care what the tax rate is, because we're paying the tax up front, never have to worry about it again. So in the end analysis, using a tax-free program versus a tax-deferred program versus a taxed program, it's a no-brainer. Which one's going to come out better? And the tax-free program that we use, the reason why it's tax-free is because we're paying tax on the money at the time that we buy it. And if we buy it and we never have to pay tax on it again, and it's growing, and we're taking money out in a manner that's tax exempt, then we never have to worry about increasing our tax burden again. Moving on. This, like all financial instruments, works in phases. So in the beginning, it's called debt-free life for a reason, because we're looking, and this program is specifically designed for people with debt. 1 debt, 2 debt, 5 debts, 10 debts, doesn't matter. Any debt. The requirements for the debt to be something that we can eliminate with this problem is a debt where there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, I pay a power bill every month. That's not a debt. That's a bill. I can't incorporate my power bill into a debt-free life program because it's never ending. I'm always going to be paying it. If I have a credit card, but I pay it off every month, that's not a debt we can incorporate into this program, because once I pay it off, I'm going to run it up next month and pay it off again. That won't work. But if I have a credit card that I'm trying to get rid of, one that I'm making payments on every month, that's a debt we can incorporate. If I've got a car payment, that's a debt we can incorporate. If I've got a student loan, personal loan, mortgage, second mortgage, home equity line of credit, those are debts we can incorporate into this program and make them part of the program. And what I'll tell you is, the more debts you have, plural, not amount, not how much you owe, but the more debts you have, the better the program will work. Because what we're doing here, we're creating a scenario where there's going to be a fundamental change in the way you spend money and the way you save money. And using a debt-free life program is going to be an easy solution to show you and use that will come out. The math is straightforward. It doesn't lie. The math doesn't lie. The system works. Okay. Maximization phase, elimination of your debt. Remember in the beginning stages, we talked about how we're making money with the program. We're eliminating taxes. We're eliminating debt or interest. This is a critical point. We are using the effect of compounded interest to grow money. So the earlier you can have a large sum in the program, and the earlier you maximize that amount of money and give it more time for the compounded interest to take hold, the better off you're going to be. So let's fast forward 2 to 5 years. Now, whatever debt you have is completely paid off. You have now entered the accumulation phase. That's where we have repurposed all the money you were spending for debt elimination and debt service. We have repurposed all of it so that now it's not being used for debt. Now it's being used for retirement growth. That's when we enter the accumulation phase. So the amount of money you're going to spend into the program in the beginning, in the maximization phase, it's going to curve up. It's going to graph up. The amount of money you're going to spend in the accumulation phase is going to be level. Okay. Unless you get really excited about your program, like a lot of people that I know do. And now all of a sudden you just want to throw as much money into the thing as you can. And then finally, the distribution phase. This is when you're retired. This is, or maybe not. Maybe you're still just want to take money out. Distribution phase is when you're taking money out of the program and using it for whatever you want to use it for. If that means you're going out and buying rental properties with it, great. You're leveraging the system. If it means you're going out and buy additional private pensions with it, great. You're leveraging the system. If it means you're taking that emergency trip to Tahiti, which isn't really emergency, great. You're living your life, knocking off a bucket list item, maybe, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's your money. You do what you want to do with it. But the distribution phase starts when you're ready to start reaping the benefits of your activity for the number of years you've been doing this debt-free life program. So to really get a grasp of this, we have to understand this. Like I said earlier, this is not new. And here's just a couple of the people that have done it in the past. I would add to this some major old money names: Rockefeller, Rothschild, Chase, Woolworth. Those people all had programs like this. And granted, those programs were 100 years ago, and they had different requirements and different restrictions, including a significantly higher 7-figure deposit amount. But this program has been used. It's been used over and over. It's been used by the wealthiest segment of the population since insurance was around. Since this for the first one of these programs was written in 1904, and it has worked, is working. If anybody follows Bloomberg, they did a story about this exact program about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's something that a lot of the wealthy segment of the population are turning to right now because of what's getting ready to happen with the market and what's getting ready to happen with taxes. So if your timing is right for you now, absolutely you should be doing this. One caveat: the law governing this program changed in January of 2021. It goes into force on January 1st, 2022. So the guaranteed interest rates we're getting ready to talk about are going to drop in January of 2022. So if you wanted to capture and get a high interest rate for one of your programs, you need to do it. You need to apply for it, get through underwriting, get it executed, get it placed before December the 31st of this year. Okay, moving on. The way we do this is what I was saying earlier. It's a fundamental change in the way you spend money. This is an efficiency tool. You spend money currently inefficiently. And we're going to, because when you're doing this right now, when you're paying your bills, paying your debts, you're paying the money, using the money one time. We're going to show you how to use it multiple times. And those other bullet points that you see there, those are just benefits of the system. Let's go on to the next piece. So when Symmetry first started this, we had a couple, I think those were our first 3 guinea pig families that did this. And we realized that it's going to save people a lot of money. Those numbers are typical for smaller people with lesser amounts of debt. If you've got normal debt load and maybe $150,000 home, then what this system is going to save for you is probably $70,000 or $80,000 in interest. If you've got a little bit bigger home, maybe $250,000, $300,000, probably going to save you $100,000. It's not, that's part of it. The goal here is to save interest, but the other part of it is, what do you do with the money? And so when we're saving that $100,000, what are we doing with it? Well, we just created at minimum $100,000 of retirement for you, but that's not true either. That's the worst case scenario because we've got compounding coming in on top of that. Let's move on. This is how you currently spend money. This is what I was talking about a minute ago. You go out and do your job, whether you're 1099, W-2, W-4, whatever, doesn't matter. You make your money, you deposit that money into your bank account. Doesn't matter which bank you use, Wells Fargo, American, Bank of America, whatever. And then the bank takes your money every night and they lend it out. Typically, it's lent out at the federal funds rate if they're lending it to other institutions. Or in some cases, they're lending it, making loans with it, using your money to fund somebody else's home purchase, or using your money to provide a credit card to somebody else. And they're charging interest anywhere between 1% and 24%. And they are not giving you a penny of that. As a matter of fact, the best, the most common thing they do is say, we're going to let you keep your money in our bank, and we're going to use that money, lend that money, make money with it, and we're not going to charge you to keep your money in our bank. That's what they're saying. And it doesn't need to be that way, and it shouldn't be that way. So finally, the bill that you need to pay comes due, and you tell the bank, hey, pay my car payment, or hey, pay off my credit card, whatever it is. And then the money comes out of your bank account and gets sent to your creditor, and the money's gone forever. And then your money has become their money. And you've got nothing to show for it except for an exchange of cash for an equal amount of debt elimination. Where's your gain? You don't have one. It is a net zero sum gain. So now let's look at a better way to do it. Debt-free life. Same process, you make your money. You earn money, you deposit your money as income into your checking account. All that stays the same. This is where the rubber meets the road with our system, though. Remember, what are we doing with debt-free life? We're creating a private bank. We're using an infinite banking financial strategy coupled with a debt snowballing strategy. So that's how the program grows. So right now, this is the creation of the infinite bank. This is that segment. So I've got my money in my checking account that I made, just got paid. And now I'm going to pay my life insurance premium, which is a whole life, a specific kind of whole life called a participating whole life. I'm going to pay that premium. On that one bill that I'm paying, that one payment, there's actually, it's a whole life, participating whole life policy with two additional riders, a term life rider and a paid up addition rider. So let's explain this, how this works and why. The whole life is the primary policy. The term life is a rider that is not permanent. It's going to be on there for a period of time until we decide or get to the point where we don't need it anymore. And the paid up additions, that's what's creating your private bank. Because when we look at what is a paid up addition, it's paid up additional life insurance. If I buy $1,000 of life insurance, how much is it worth next year? It's worth $1,000. How much is it worth 2 years from now? $1,000. The value never changes. My cost to maintain that value is zero. Okay. So I have an investment that never loses money, that I don't have to pay any money to maintain, that will have, as we're going to see in just a minute, permanent guaranteed growth. So what is that? In the banking industry, that's called a tier one asset. Tier one assets are assets where they have a return and zero or very low risk. So can you invest money elsewhere and get a better return? Absolutely. Will there be risk? Absolutely. Is there risk with this program? No. Why? This is a contract. It's a contract between the carrier and you. The only things that can affect that contract, even the federal government can't affect that contract. The only things that affect that contract are you not paying your premiums or you dying. Remember, this is a life insurance policy, right? Okay. So how do the numbers work? Whole life represents generally 21% of whatever premium payment you're making. So if your premium payment is $100 a month, then $21 of that $100 is going into whole life. $11 is representing that term life component. So you have 21 plus 11, that's $32. So where's the other money going? $68 is going to paid up additions. So every time you make your $100 per month life insurance payment, you're saving $68 in the form of paid up life insurance that has a permanent value, that will never decrease, that will increase, and will provide, because of the nature of the compounded interest that these programs offer, will provide permanent growth. You cannot outlive the money. That's the number one cause of concern for people when they reach retirement. It's not death, it's will I outlive my money? So the debt-free life program provides a solution where you cannot outlive the money just by default because it's life insurance. Okay. So 21% is going to whole life, 11% is going to term life, 68% is going to paid up additions. The carrier says, wait a minute, you're giving us $68 to work with, and we're not going to have to do anything but pay your death benefit when you die. We know when you're going to die because we have all the actuarial tables. They're going to take that money and they're going to invest it. And they're going to make a lot of money with your money, but they're going to give you some of it back. So this is how we create a private bank. We're using the carrier's guaranteed interest rate plus a dividend, and we're creating our very own DFL private bank. So we have taken our money, moved it through our checking account briefly, paid our life insurance premium payment, put it up into our life insurance program, which is a whole life policy with a term life and a paid up additions rider, the majority of which, almost 2/3, or actually more than 2/3 of the money is buying paid up life insurance, which the carrier sees as cash. And when the carrier guarantees the income interest rate, I'm going to use 4% for today, guarantees a 4% return plus a dividend, they're looking at how much money you have in your paid up additions. If you remember earlier, I also said with that 80-20 rule, we wanted 20% of the money that you have in your program to be hidden. That's the emergency fund. Where is that? Well, that's hidden in that whole life. The whole life, all whole life policies grow cash value if they're structured right. This one is. So in this scenario, we're offering a whole life policy where we're capturing some of that $21 every month. We're capturing $68 every month in our paid up additional life insurance. So $22 of our $100 is being spent for life insurance. The rest of it is being spent for cash sequestration and cash growth. So $100 goes up. We do this 10 months in a row. So all of a sudden, now we've got $68 per month that we've been saving every month for 10 months. Now we've got $680 cash in our program that's visible, and we've got $110 cash in our program that's not visible. When the carrier looks at how much money they have in here and they do their compounding of interest, they look at those two numbers, cash in the paid up addition value, cash in the whole life policy. And that's what they pay your 4% on. They also look at, when they're ready to pay the dividend, they look at how much money you have in the program that you haven't borrowed against. Okay, preemptively borrowing against the paid up addition, not against the cash value in the whole life, just the paid up addition part. So if you've got $680 in there and you've got a credit card that you only owe $500 on and we're trying to pay it off, what do? You instruct the carrier to deposit $500 into your checking account. They give it to you as a loan. The loan is at 4.76% interest currently, and I'm still earning 4%. So that means my net cost on that loan is 0.76 before dividend. The money goes into my checking account. I instruct my bank to go ahead and pay off that credit card to pay my debt. And now all of a sudden, the debt's paid. Where's my money? My money is still sitting in my DFL bank. I did not use my money to pay that debt. I used a loan against the cash value of my life insurance policy to pay the debt. The loan that I'm paying is 0.76% interest. So in the worst case scenario, I don't know anybody who's got an interest on anything really. Credit cards, mortgage, student loans, cars. I don't know any of them that have an interest rate that's less than 0.76%. All right, so now we've taken money out of our life insurance policy. Not really, we've taken a loan. The principal's still in there. It's all still earning interest. The interest rate that I earn, the guaranteed interest rate of 4%, is not affected by the presence of a loan with one of our carriers. The other two it is. So if I take a loan of $5,000 and I've got $10,000 in my account, in my paid up additions policy, I'm still earning interest on $10,000. The only thing in this that I'm using for this illustration, the only thing it affects as far as other money that I'm going to earn is 5,000 of the 10,000 is encumbered because I've got a loan against it. So 5,000 is not encumbered. So at the end of the year, when they compute my dividend, they're going to give me a dividend based on $5,000 unencumbered, and they're going to give me the guaranteed interest rate based on $10,000 total. Okay, so I've made the payment, I got the money, drew the loan out, put it into my checking account, told my bank to make the payment to my creditor. They paid the creditor, the money's paid. Creditor's happy, they got paid. They don't care where the money came from. I've still got my money in the program earning an interest rate. I'm happy about that. I've got a loan. That's how the efficient way to spend money, because I'm not really spending my money, I'm spending somebody else's money. All right, so how does this work in practice? Let's take a look. All right, so I need to update these. Anyway, this is a family that I helped. They're in their 3rd year of their program now, which is awesome. And they're doing great with it. I talked to them the other day. So this program, these families started with $584,000 of debt from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different debts. Okay, 14 different debts. If the only debt they had was a $584,000 mortgage, this program would have gotten that 30-year mortgage paid off in about 15 years. But because they have other debts and we're able to take advantage of the financial instrument called a debt snowball, we're able to eliminate their debt quickly. And this is something that was an eye-opener for them. $584,000 of debt, that's what their current debt load was at the time we did this policy. And that was if they had the ability to write a check for $584,930, they could have gotten out of debt right then. But they didn't. The debt was financed. So the true debt includes $182,000 of interest that they were scheduled to pay. What our system did is got them out of debt in 7.8 years. So where they are right now is here. They have eliminated every single debt that they had with the exception of the student loan, and they have 2 properties. They have a rental property and a primary residence. So all the little debts are paid off. But here's the cool thing. This is really neat. Having paid off all these debts, $2,692. That's the debt snowball at this point. So they are paying their regular premiums plus $2,692 every month, which is going directly to cash value. They don't have to pay the whole life. They don't have to pay the term. All that's paid with their base premium. This is 100% cash capture. So what they're doing is cycling through their dollars, paying off, taking a loan, paying off a debt, paying the loan off, growing it again, having the compounded interest come in, having the dividend come in, and then doing it again over and over and over and over again. And now that they're paying $26.92 every month extra into the program, the student loan that was $108,000 originally was going to take them 30 years, almost 40 years to pay off at the rate they were doing. We're now paying it off in 4.42 years. This was their aha moment. Their aha moment was, I'm going to use a debt-free life program. I'm going to eliminate some portion of that $182,000 of scheduled interest. And that number happens to be $70,000. And I'm going to get out of debt, not in 40 years like they were on track to do, but 7.8 years. And that additional, not 32 years, but 7.8, 40 minus 7.8 is 32 years. Instead of I'm not going to build retirement for 32 years. I'm not going to have to, because I'm not going to have all that interest. I'm going to have that debt snowball that's creating that massive retirement for me. And where they would have been in 40 years, they would have had $4.8 million liquid cash. They don't need it. They don't need that much. And they also would have had a massive life insurance policy. This is how it actually works for them. Like I said, year 3, this is it. All their debt's gone with the exception of their student loans and 2 houses. And when I asked the gentleman that this is written on when he wanted to retire, he said 75. So I ran this to 75. The reality is he's going to be able to retire at 55. because at 55, he's going to have $1.5 million cash liquid in the program. All of his debt's going to be paid. And at that point, he's also going to have right around a $1.1 million life insurance policy. So not only has he secured a legacy for his family through the death benefit of a paid up life insurance policy, he's got $1.5 million cash in the program, which is earning somewhere around $120,000 a year of compounded interest. So if you'd taken that same $1.5 million and put it into a taxed growth program, you would probably have more growth, probably on the nature of 8%, but you would have lost about a third of it to taxes, not to mention putting in a much higher tax bracket. The growth that we get from a DFL program is not taxable. The interest that we're being added to our program is not taxable. The only time there's a taxable event in this is if the basis exceeds the benefit. And you'd have to be 125 years old for that to happen. Okay, moving on. This was designed to be used for large debt service, and some people don't have a lot of debt. So this is a 23-year-old that we did the program on. Again, student loans, 40 years, student loans are evil. And in this case, she had a lot of student loan debt. She was a master's student. Her $85,000 of total debt, once you include all the interest that she was going to pay, she owed more interest than she owed in principal. And that's the unfortunate nature of student loans. And this is where she was. So all we did was run the program for 9.7 years. So the program works for anybody. She's got a lot of debts. This is 7 debts. That's actually, when we analyze debt-free life programs, the more numerous your debts are, the better the programs work. And 7 is actually the sweet spot. So if you have 7 debts, you're in great shape. If you have a client that has 7 debts, perfect candidate. Doesn't matter what the debts are. Doesn't matter how much they are. Just matters as long as they're paying their debt service, able to make the payments, and they got 7, then it's perfect. So for her, we got her out of debt, 9.7 years, saved almost $65,000 worth of interest, which is huge, and got her to a point where she wanted to retire at 65. Well, at 55, she's able to retire, making $22,000 a year tax-free for the rest of her life. I want everybody to pay attention. That word tax-free is huge. A tax-free income is equivalent to a standard income that's at least 35% higher. So if I'm making a $22,000 per year tax-free income, then that's the equivalent of probably $32,000 or $33,000. That's huge. All right. So that's the end of the basic presentation. At this point, what you should do is get with whoever invited you here. If you're looking to do a DFL program, great. If you're an agent and you need help, feel free to reach out to me. Or talk to anybody else on your team who's experienced doing these debt-free life programs. That's that presentation. I'm going to stop for a second and give everybody a chance to ask any questions you might have.
Hey, Scott.
Yes, sir.
You said that the return laws are going to be changing on January 1st of 2022.
The law has already changed. It goes into effect on January 1.
Okay. So is that going to be detrimental to policies moving forward? Is that going to adjust how we structure them, or do we not know yet?
It's going to do. I know the guaranteed interest rate is going to go down across the board. Okay. But I also know the dividend rate's going to go up. So what I've been told by a couple of VPs at different carriers is that they expect the performance to maintain about the same for unencumbered programs, which means encumbered programs are going to suffer a little bit. So, and the reason why they're going to suffer is because programs that use unencumbered money, which is to determine the dividend, if you're using the program and cycling through your dollars, then you're going to have unencumbered money on some of it, but not a lot of it. So for me, the programs that give a guaranteed interest rate, regardless of the encumberment, is going to be great, but what's going to happen is the guaranteed interest rate is going to drop. So that program is going to become less attractive. That's what I think is going to happen.
And then the unencumbered money is what you get dividend off of. And because that's technically not guaranteed, it gives a little more flexibility. Okay.
Right. So the dividends should go up. The guaranteed interest rate should go down. The average return should be increased if you're not encumbering the money. And the growth, the amount, the bank capacity, the paid up addition capacity for each bank should increase.
So what's going to happen is we might need to think about keeping more unencumbered funds just to balance the system.
Right. And again, this is conjecture. So the new illustration tools aren't out yet. So we'll have to play with it as soon as the new illustration tools come out. They'll be out January 1st.
Okay. So not detrimental, just
different.
Different.
The strategy when you structure these is probably going to change.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anybody else?
Go ahead, Lauren.
So on one of them, I thought their illustrations were going to stop at the old rate, like in 1 or 2 days.
That may be the case.
Okay.
The one you're talking about, I don't use.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. The that new illustration tool started today, actually, right? The update is today.
When I signed in today, it said it will expire in 2 days.
It's not gonna they're just doing a software update. It's not gonna use the new system until January 1.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Do we know what the rates will be for the other carriers? I mean, I know we saw
I don't.
one.
I mean, I've heard some numbers, but just because they told me doesn't mean that's going to be the case. So yep, we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to give any false information. Plus, this is being recorded.
All right, good enough.
Scott, 2 quick questions, and thank you for your presentation. You mentioned somebody with 7 lines of debt would be ideal. What is the age? What's the maximum age?
Right. So depending on the carrier, all the carriers will write up to age 70. One carrier will write up to age 75. All carriers, in order to get a PUA rider, you have to be at least 18. So you can't write these on children.
Okay. All right. And then do you find that the DFL clients are canceling the original mortgage protection?
No.
No.
Yeah. And so when you're presenting for a mortgage protection piece, this should be, a seed that you plant. Okay. But don't forget, what mortgage protection, what makes a program a mortgage protection program are the living benefits, and the living benefits associated with these are usually a little bit less. So these are, some people use them for mortgage protection schemes. I don't. I use a traditional mortgage protection, and then I write this, and then we look at the timeline when the debt's going to come down and when we're going to be here, and then say, okay, so you can cancel this policy in 7.2 years.
Okay.
Make that part of their plan. Part of
the plan. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh,
Martin?
Martin, well, I was just wondering what carriers we use, and is there one that you prefer over the other?
So there are 3 carriers that we use: Lafayette, which is part of Western and Southern; Foresters, which is its own entity; and Mutual Trust Life, which is part of Pan American Life Insurance Group.
Okay. Which one do you prefer?
I'm not
Does
saying.
it depend on the scenario?
I'm not saying. It does depend on the scenario. And just as a general rule, if the client's over 70 years old, you have to use Foresters.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a logistics question, Scott. If, the first one that I wrote, I somehow managed to get her $100,000 flexible paid up addition cap. And then subsequent ones, they cut it down to like the 7-year pay, or, the sum of the premiums. And that seems to be a much lower cap. Am I doing them a disservice by giving them a much lower cap on the flexible paid up addition?
You have to look at what their debt snowball is going to look like and what their finances are going to look like. There's no reason to give them $100,000 a year paid up addition cap if they only make $50,000 a year and their debt snowball is never going to be more than $3,000 a month. So you just have to do the math. You get it?
All right. Yep.
Yeah. So you just have to look. I mean, you have to get out a crystal ball, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, but you can determine. I mean, once you look at a debt analysis form, a financial analysis form, you can quickly go through and see what their minimum payments are going to be. Add that number up. That's going to be that number times 12 is what the PUA ceiling needs to be plus whatever their base premium is. So if the base premium is $100 a month and they're creating 68 times 12, 700, say $750 a year in PUA, and their debt service, minimum payment on their debt service is $3,000 a month, then that means you need to be able to capture 36,000 plus the other 1,000. So you need to be able to have a PUA bank that's got $37,000 stipulated maximum annual premium. Okay, you can do it that way, or you can write two policies, create a program where you've got a backup program where you're going to start one bank, you're going to do a fully underwritten term on another family member. And then when this bank fills up in whatever year, then you flip the other one on. You convert it from a term program that was fully underwritten into, you know, whatever program you're using for whatever carrier, the Advantage Plus if you're with Foresters, the Horizon Value if you're with Lafayette, with
Mutual Trust,
right, or the Marquee. All right, does that help you?
It does. It
Right
does.
on.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, I just had two questions actually. We were curious, now that original $10,000 investment that you had started with, was that just an example, or was that like actually the face value of the whole policy?
You lost me.
What? That example that you used to demonstrate the tax-free versus tax deferred.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that was just that was showing how these programs perform when you compare them against each other. 401 versus a debt-free life program versus a savings account. That's all that slide was showing you.
Right.
So that $10,000, that would be if you put in $10,000 into an existing debt-free life program and it was buying 100% paid up additional life insurance.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then our other question was, when you, like the $500 example that you used as a loan against the carrier from your actual whole life policy or your cash value, when that gets paid back, I understand that it's not, you know, does it get paid back via the interest that accumulates and compounds? Or is
Great question. Maybe it gets paid back because you're practicing dollar cycling and you're paying, you know, you're paying $1,000 a month premium because you built that debt snowball up. You took a $500 loan, but because the debt snowball is where it's at, you're paying $700 a month more in PUA. So you take the $500 loan and the very next month you're paying in $1,000. And then it depends on how you have the program set and where you are in the executing the program. In the beginning, the dividend you're going to receive is very small. Right. So in the beginning, it makes more sense to build up bank capacity than it does to pay off the loan. Because by paying off the loan, I'm getting a very small dividend, but if I build up bank capacity, I'm getting the guaranteed interest rate. So in the beginning, it makes more sense to buy more bank. And until about year 2.3, 2.4, that's what is normally what I instruct my folks to do. At that point, when I've gotten most of those debts paid down and that debt snowball is growing, then the dividend that I'm going to have, because I've been in the program for 2.5 years now, the dividend is going to be more substantial. So at that point, and you can do the math or just make a judgment call, but at somewhere between year 2.3 and probably year 4, you do need to switch to the point where all the stuff you're paying in is paying off the debt to get the loan paid down, because at that point you're getting ready in year 4, you're typically getting ready to pay off those big ticket items. the house, the student loans, the second home, the RV, whatever it is. And that point, you need a large bank capacity to be able to, say, hey, mortgage company, here's $90,000. See you later, right? So
Right.
you need to pay the loan down and build, which also builds up bank capacity. It doesn't build it. It actually it decreases the amount that you owe, which creates your bank loan capacity goes up. And as a side, it also decreases the amount of money you've got encumbered. So it's going to create an environment where your dividend is going to be better. So
Right.
it's a judgment call that you have to make once you're executing a program. And what I see once people get the hang of using these programs, they start adding in other debts.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was gonna say that loan at some point then would essentially become part of the debt that they have to pay back, right? I mean,
the debt will get paid back automatically by itself over time
because of
You-
the
because of the debt snowball or because of the guaranteed interest rate plus a dividend. That will happen. Okay. But there's a logical reason why you may want to pay it off sooner if you're
Right.
trying to capture more dividend, if the dividend's large. Or if you're looking to be able to, I want to pay off my mortgage next year in one shot. I need to make sure I've got at least $200,000 of bank capacity. I can't put any more money in this year because I've maxed it out this year. What do? Do you just sit on the money or do you pay down the loan? You pay down the loan.
All you gotta do is just pay the premium every month. That's it.
So, yeah, that's a judgment call that you make at the
Okay.
time. There's no one size fits all because every one of these programs is unique by individual. Okay.
You want to put as much money in there as you possibly could, right? So because
Depends.
best place.
I don't want to, we're going a little bit too far afield here. I just want to make
I will
sure,
fix it
the
later.
idea is that every program is unique. You need to look at the numbers, you need to look at the projections. Okay. And you can do the math up front. All right. Anybody else?
If I understand it, before the cash value grows, it takes a while for it to grow. Is it the loan that is paying down the initial debt? The loan that you take? What is the driver of paying down the initial debt before the cash value?
Which initial debt?
Whatever the smaller.
So a credit
lines of
card?
the- Yeah.
Right.
credit
So
card.
when you execute a program, you're going to stop paying anything you were paying over. So if your payment
Okay.
was $50 a month and you've been paying 75,
Ah,
that
I
25 you're going to stop paying. That 25 is going to become part of the fuel for your debt-free life engine. That's where the money's coming from. That's how we're doing this without you spending any more money than you're spending already. We're just going to repurpose the money that you were spending inefficiently. Remember?
Inefficiently.
Right? So
Thank
if I
you.
pay $75 on my credit card, that money's gone forever. I've traded $25 extra cash for $25 of debt elimination. I have a zero gain.
Mm,
Okay. But
mhm.
if I take that same $25 and put it up into my debt-free life program, and then 3 or 4 months later, I take out $100 and pay off the credit card, where's my money? It's still in my debt-free life program. Is the debt gone?
Mhm.
Yes. So what did I do? I traded somebody else's money for $100 of debt elimination. What's my gain? My gain's $100. I have $100 more. My debt's
Mhm.
gone. I have $100
Mhm.
more. And the loan that
Mhm.
I'm taking, because of the way these things are structured, the loan will pay itself off over time if I want to wait that long. Or I can be
Mhm.
aggressive, pay it off in dollar cycles. So I can use that same $100 2 months from now, pay off another debt, pay it off, cycle through it again, use it again 3 months from now. That's dollar cycling. So in the beginning,
Mhm.
in the maximization phase, we're going to do dollar cycling. The debt-free life bank is going to build up to a certain point, and the loan capacity is going to go up and down and up and down as we're taking loans and paying them off, taking loans and paying them off. That's dollar cycling. And
Okay.
then
So you're
you get to-
also looking for people who are paying more into their credit card or who have savings. So they-
ideally, yeah. I mean, if you
Ideally.
look at the debt-free life leads that are available out there, there's 4 questions that are asked on those clients. They ask if they have a mortgage. They ask if they're in good health. They ask if they have expendable money, extra money that they're not using, and they ask if they have credit debt.
Mhm.
So there's a sweet spot for the people that we can help, and we're looking for debts.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Lorena is intently staring at us.
And you're looking at the clock, you're like, I'm done exactly 1 hour, on track.
Nope, I got one more thing to do, but I will be done. All right, hold on one second. So Mr. McFadden said he wanted to see the tax capture piece. So let's do that.
I was talking to 2 people last night that are 1099, and I forgot to mention that.
Okay,
Duh.
well, here we go. All right. Sorry, folks. Here we go. All right. So capturing taxes using this program. So how do you do that? Let me show you. All right. So with debt-free life, because of the nature of how every time you put $1 up into your private bank, that dollar is captured forever. And you get to use it multiple times using dollar cycling that we were just talking about. So let's talk about taxes. And I'm going to use an insurance agent as an example. So when we were looking at these programs, these debt-free life programs, where's our problem? When I pay my taxes, the money's gone forever. What did I lose? So if, and this is just based on the federal income tax brackets. If I'm single and I make $100,000 a year, my taxes, my federal taxes is $24,000. If I'm married and make $200,000, it's $48,000. If I'm the head of a household and make $150,000, it's $36,000. So that's what my potential loss is by paying $24,000 of taxes as a single person, or $36,000 as a head of household. That $36,000 is gone as soon as I send it to the IRS. And I've traded $36,000 of cash for $36,000 of tax debt. I have a net zero gain, Rick Helm, right? So if I use a debt-free life program, I can capture a portion of that. How much? Well, the numbers, the soft numbers are what you see right there, 21,600, 43.2 or 32.4. So if you had the option to trade $36,000 for $36,000 of tax debt elimination with a zero gain, or put $36,000 into your DFL, pay $36,000 of taxes, and capture $32,000 of 32.4, what would you do, Rick Helm? You'd probably take the money.
I would choose option B.
Yeah, option B is a better option. So this is what it looks like, the federal income tax rate. This is taken directly from the current IRS rate. This is for 2021. And that's where I'm getting these numbers from, just so everybody understands. All right. So the couple of requirements to do this. Number one, you cannot do this just for the purpose of capturing tax money. You have to have a regular core debt-free life program already in effect, already working. It doesn't mean you can't start one and then start doing the tax thing immediately also, but it needs to be part of a debt elimination strategy so that you're funding that program and you have enough bank capacity. We just talked about this a minute ago, right? You have to be able to store enough money in the program. I have to be able to capture $36,000 on top of everything else that I want to capture. So what that means is these programs, these are not your $65, $75, $105 a month programs. These are going to be pricey, $300, $500, $700, $1,000. Okay. So there needs to be a fairly large program with a lot of room so that you can capture the taxes. That number 10%, that's kind of my arbitrary number. And what that means is I need to be able to put in more than 10% of what my taxes are. Okay, because when I'm taking, if I put in $36,000, I can't borrow $36,000. You can only borrow, they'll let you borrow 95. I use the number 90 because I like to be conservative. So you can borrow 90%. So that's why I say you need to put in 10 more than your taxes. So if your tax payment was 36,000, you need to put in 39,600. And you're going to pull out 36,000 and pay the IRS. So when you're computing your monthly taxes, right? This is a monthly program. You're paying quarterly. So when you're computing whatever your monthly payment should be, add 10% and put that up into your DFL with your regular DFL working on its own. This is above and beyond. All right. So this is, like I said, we're doing this based on an insurance broker, and I'm using $36,000. I'm already ahead of myself. Sorry, people. We're looking at a tax bracket of 24%. $36,000 is what you're going to pay. The amount that you're going to owe quarterly is $9,000. Okay. The amount that you're going to owe monthly is $3,000. That's where I'm coming up with the $3,600. So, excuse me, $3,300. Next slide. Jumping ahead again. So the idea here is that you want to, if you're making $150,000 a year that's taxable, and you're a 1099, you're going to want to have a DFL program set up, and you're going to want to put in $3,300 a month to be able to pay your taxes when the time comes. In the end, you're going to need to have $39,600 in your bank beyond the regular bank so that you can take that loan and pay the taxes. So what does this do for you? I'm using this as the example that I use to do these numbers. This is the sweet spot for a 42-year-old non-tobacco user. That person is going to have $48,000 of bank capacity highlighted there. Their default at $500 a month is going to be to capture $2,400 a year. And I'm capturing $39,000 as part of my taxes. That means I've left about $8,000 and change for extra money going into the program for a debt snowball. If the person had a larger debt snowball, this is where you have to do the math. If the debt snowball was larger, let's say that it was going to get up to $20,000 a year, then that maximum annual premium would need to be increased to 60, whatever it is, which means I'm going to have to manipulate the numbers, or I'm going to have to increase the monthly premium to about 600 probably. Everybody got that? Understand the math? So in the process, remember in the beginning stages, we're going to be doing a lot of dollar cycling where we're using the same dollar. The debt, the balance of our bank is going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. The ceiling is going to stay, but we're going to go up and down because we're taking a loan, paying a loan, taking a loan, paying a loan, right? This program is going to, for tax capture, is going to work best with a dollar cycling mechanism. So what does that mean? That means in the accumulation phase, it's still going to work, but it's going to work better in the maximization phase once you've got the debt snowball started. The core policy is covering the cost to maintain the policy. So all the money, that's critical. All the money I'm putting in has to be above and beyond wherever the core policy money would be. Okay, I can't say to myself, all right, I'm paying $500 a month, of which $200 is going into PUA. I'm going to use that $200 to pay part of my taxes. I cannot do that. You cannot do that. It will fail. Okay, that $500 is set. You have to think of it like a separate bank. It's separate. Okay, the money I'm using for taxes is going to a separate bank. I can't touch for anything except for taxes. Now the nice thing is you're going to get guaranteed interest on all $39,000. The other nice thing is, because we're not encumbering all $39,000, you're going to get some dividends on the part that you're not encumbering, plus the core policy numbers. And that number, the guaranteed interest plus the dividend, should be enough to pay the debt service on the loan you're taking. So again, you just captured and sequestered $39,000 of the cash. You paid your taxes. And the interest and dividend on what you put in is enough to pay the debt service on that loan. And the next year, you do it again. Ready for an aha moment? You ready, Rick?
Yes, I am.
There you go. In the first year, you're going to earn. That's a critical thing here. Earn. That means it's not a negative. You're not in the red. First year, you're going to earn $1,440. Second year, $3,231, $49.45, $67, $87.99. So somewhere around the second year or third year, the program is going to have enough money in it that you've been putting in to store your taxes to pay the interest on the loans by itself. That's just the guaranteed interest. There's no dividend computed here. Okay. In the fifth year, you're going to have $87.99. I'll let you guys read those. Let it soak in for a second. So this is a 5-year program. So by the 5th year, I've been paying my tax money in at the rate that I said, 10% more than what I actually owe. It's been building up over time. The guaranteed interest is coming in. It's being compounded. The dividends are growing each year because I've got more and more money that's not encumbered. And then all of a sudden, the system stops. This is a 5-year program. You can do this for the rest of your life, but I just wanted to run 5 years just to show how it would work. So in the 5th year, I'm going to have a gain of $70,000 over what I've put into the program by the 5th year. That's the effect of compounded interest. That's the effect of the snowball from the core policy, basic snowball. And that's what I'm getting as a gain, compounded interest gain plus a dividend gain from the taxes that I'm putting in there. Now, that's a net gain. But remember the previous slide? I've got $165,000 of PUA loans taken. And I've got $198,000 that I've sequestered beyond my basic DFL program. That's a whole nother. I've put $200,000 more away from my retirement. That should be your holy cow moment there, Rick.
Yeah, but that's assuming you have the paid up additions level high enough to do that, right?
You're going to pay taxes, aren't you? Everybody
Yes,
pays taxes, right? And
right.
if you're gonna have a DFL program, or you're gonna have it at just $100 a month, you're gonna have a fairly sizable one. This works on a $600 a month program. This is the one my wife and I do. And here's your aha moment. So remember, I said this is a 5-year program, right? I'm no longer funding it after the 5th year. What's happening here with that net gain, 182, 238, that's a combination of the program paying off the debt and the extra portion, the guaranteed interest plus the dividend coming in and increasing my bank for me automatically. That's the effect of putting your $36,000 of taxes away every year for 5 years. And then, again, biting the bullet, putting in an extra 10% so you can afford the debt service on it through the system without encumbering your regular DFL.
So after 5 years, you're no longer funding your taxes with pocket money.
You can, but why would you? Now the system is paying your taxes for you, right?
Exactly.
And between year 20 and 25, the program is generating $12,000 or $15,000 a year. So maybe. Okay. So I'm going to answer any questions. I have a few minutes.
Quick question on the tax one you just did. You're not adding additional to repay the loan against the value. That's all built within the system itself, correct?
In that scenario I just did, all I'm doing is looking at, for the first 2 years, some dollar cycling happening with the core policy. And I'm assuming that the core policy is large enough to support the basic costs of the program, so that all the money I'm putting in is going to be PUA, 100% PUA. And then interest, the guaranteed interest, is what I'm using, all I'm using to show the reduction in cost. It will work faster than what I've shown because I'm not putting a dividend in there. I did not compute a dividend. Does that answer your question?
To a degree, but our loan against our cash value.
Yep.
We're not funding that separately. All we're doing with that is letting the system, we build it within the system that it pays it back itself, or we're just forgetting about that and looking at the growth. Which,
so in year one, I put in $39,600. Okay.
Right.
And in year one, I take out $36,000. I take a loan. The interest on that loan is going to be 4.76%. My cost for that loan is $1,700. I put in 39,600. The guaranteed interest without a dividend, the guaranteed interest is $1,584. So I have a net negative delta of about $180.
Okay, so
Assuming that the core policy is going to be able to absorb $180 a year.
so basically what we're doing is making sure that we're funding that policy heavily enough that it makes up for the 0.76% loss.
Yep.
And we're not attempting to unencumber any of the money. We're just letting it grow on its
Right.
own.
So we are, because in the very beginning stages, it's more important to fund the bank than it is to pay the debt because the dividends are small. After about year 2 or year 3, we're going to start, instead of funding the debt, funding the bank, we're going to stop, flip that switch and make our premium payments that are beyond, make our premium payments pay down the debt, because that's going to open up more money to be unencumbered so the dividend goes up. So the dividend is nothing to speak of in the first 2 years, so it's not really worth pursuing. In that scenario I just gave you, though, the dividend should be over $180. Even at 0.25%, it should be over $180. So even in the first year, the guaranteed interest plus the dividend on the whole program should be enough to pay your debt service, because we're only talking about $180 delta.
Right.
So
Okay, yeah.
that's
Yes,
why.
I think you answered it.
Yep. Okay, good. Anybody else? You guys let me go early?
I have a question that you've covered before, but somehow I
Okay.
lost my notes on it. I apologize for that. But you said that if you sell one DFL program a week
Yep.
in year 2, you would be making how much residual and
30.
et cetera?
30, 60, 90. And then in year 7, it goes up another 30,000. Yeah. So 48 debt-free life programs per year. An average size debt-free life program should yield about $30,000 a year residual income in year 1 after the first year is all placed. And then, so you've got your base commission in year 1. In year 2, it's 30,000. In year 3, it jumps up to 60. In year 4, it jumps up to 90. And then because of the way these things are structured, usually about year 7 is when they pay off the mortgage. And at that point, you're in the accumulation phase. And in the accumulation phase, that's when you've reached the pinnacle of how much PUA you're going to purchase every year. Okay. And that PUA pinnacle, where it grows to, that's where they're going to be for a number of years. That's where everybody's going to be for a number of years that executes one of these programs, which means that's why you're getting that PUA jump, the PUA residual commission jump. So year 1, you get your base, whatever you're going to get on your upfront commission. Year 2, you're going to get residuals, about $30,000 for 48 policies placed. Year 3 jumps up to 60. Year 4 jumps up to 90. Year 7 jumps up to 120. And that's hard, fast math based on an average size policy of $300 or $400 a month, based on placing 4 per month, not writing 4, but placing 4 per month.
Okay.
Anybody else? Come on, Helmy, give me a hard one.
I'm not intelligent enough about the program to ask good questions yet. I get questions from my clients like, when you eliminate a debt, the idea is to get a snowball or accumulation goes to take that freed up money and put it into paid up additions, correct?
Correct.
So what if I got a pushback from one guy who says, I don't want to do that. I want to have that freed up money to use.
Go ahead.
I said, that's not the way this program works.
You can say, so look, we're showing with the program, we're showing the best and most efficient use of money. It doesn't mean they have to do it. It's just, we're showing the best and most efficient use to get them to the end of the game when they're ready to retire with the most amount of money and the least amount of worry. If you don't want to do that, if you want to take money out of the program or restrict money from going into the program before the program is ready to execute the distribution phase, go for it. It's your money. You do whatever you want to do with it. I'm telling you though, if you want that $70,000 a year tax-free income equivalent of 105, if you want that, then you have to do this. If you don't do this, you won't have that. It's your choice. You do whatever you want to do. Right? That's it. You know,
Makes sense to me.
I think I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Resma is talking about building a flexible payment, long-term flexible payment into their software. So if they wanted to decrease their input in year 5 or 6 by $200 or whatever, that might be something we can illustrate going forward. But
yep. There's also a new piece coming in where the YFB software allows us to illustrate a 2-party program. The new software is going to have an unlimited party program. So if you want to write one of these on your wife and your 4 kids, you can put all of them into the same program and have it do all the math for you. That's coming too.
And with Forrester's, the loan servicing department, I understand from Resma saying that's
It's live.
live. So how does a client access that? Or does a client access that?
I don't want to speak for that. So I don't know the answer. I think I know, but I don't want to say it. So I would pick up the phone and call or send a ticket into Quility and ask that question.
So an assumption would be if the income tax thing is similar to the escrow thing.
Yeah, it is conceptually. It's the same thing. It's money that
So
you spend.
neither of those examples.
Say again?
So neither of those examples would be good prospects to put into the Quility loan servicing administration, correct?
I don't understand your question.
Well, it's not going to be a typical, I mean, it's whenever you're putting in more money for escrow or taxes, it's not going to work like or look like a normal debt-free life program as far as payoff is concerned.
Yeah, there's a DFL 102, 201, 202, and 203 coming also, which will incorporate stuff like this. That's in the works. It should be out first quarter next year.
Okay.
So
But for right now, it's probably not.
I mean, if you gave one of these to the loan servicing department right now, they wouldn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, okay. That was my question. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope you got something out of it.
Thank you, Scott.
Good luck,
As
everybody.
always, thank you, Scott.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Go out and help some families. See everybody later.
thank you, Scott.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.